crank something out for you or not.
Yeah.
Looks a little dark.
Tim, were you able to solve? Let me have a message to Tim here. Looks like Commissioner Fai is here as well.
Got it. Promote her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, all right. You're just so quick.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like Tim Bonnet is having some technical issues, so we're unable to hear or see him at this point. But maybe I'll keep trying to work with him and resolve that on the side as we get started.
Okay.
Just a real quick reminder for folks as we get started. If you're new to joining virtual meetings, please be patient as we work through issues, as you can see happening currently. Folks in the meeting are muted and videos are turned off automatically. If you wanted to interact with the panelists and people presenting, you can use the raise hand feature or type something into the chat and we can be responsive there. Yeah, the chat box will be open if you'd like to comment on what is being presented or raise a question. There'll be time to pause for questions. We can use the raise hand feature. If you are using the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand, and then we can give you the ability to talk that way as well. Okay. And then Tim, I went ahead, it looks like that's your phone calling in. I went ahead and gave you permissions to speak. If you hit *6, you will unmute yourself. Go ahead and try that and see if we can hear you.
Can you?
Yes.
There, you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so maybe I'll use the phone when my portion comes up.
Perfect, perfect. We can see you on your screen and we can hear you through the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, and then with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to CPO 6 Chair Becky Morinishi.
Great. Thank you so much, Marcus. And thank you everyone for being here tonight. We are going to start off with the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
I'm Cody Harris. I'm your Education Outreach Specialist with the Washington County Sheriff's Office. I'll put my information in the chat, but I'll let our Deputy Harris start us off. Oh, now we can't hear her.
Does that work?
Oh, now we can hear you, can't see you.
Okay. So,
There you
all right. So, no, I want to say hi. Thank you for inviting us to the meeting. We're here just to, be part of the community and understanding that today's presentation is based on the Aloha Inn. We're here for any questions you guys might have when it comes to enforcement and how we are looking at the situation as well. And Cody and I are here to answer any questions after that fact. With everything opening up, it's gotten busier out there with just more calls and more calls for service, but we're still able to handle everything that's out there and just trying to beat this heat as well. So when it comes up with the presentation, if afterwards you guys have any questions, please feel free to let us know. Thank you.
And then I just had a couple of safety additions to that, just reminding everybody as we're heading back out into the water to remember, no matter what your age, it's definitely encouraged to wear a life jacket, making sure you get those permits if you're kayaking or paddleboarding out on open waters, stopping at for our windows on our upper levels to help make sure that prevent children from falling out of windows. We encourage what is called a stop at 4 inches. And there's several videos on our social media and on TVFNR's social media about that. In addition, I know a lot of you, we've been being asked about fireworks, and I'm going to put the link in the chat from the county encouraging the limitation or not using of fireworks due to this current season and the extra heat that we've had. But if you have any questions, most of it is answered there. If anything changes over the next several days, keep an eye out on Washington County's website or on TVFNR are going to be your best channels, as well as Washington County Sheriff's Office. We will update if anything changes. So if you have any questions for us, let us know, but we'll be on the whole time.
Great, thanks so much. Does anybody have any questions?
Looks like Bill put a question into the chat. He says,
Okay.
comment says crime in Aloha seems to be increasing. I saw he had his hand raised for a minute, but it looks like he put it down. But I think maybe he wanted the sheriff's office to comment on crime in Aloha.
So if you can hear me, I'll say the crime is, I think part of it is just everything's opening up. So people are out and about more. So there's more opportunity with that. Also, the mandate still states that we do not take, that we are not taking as many people to jail, depending on the level of crime that they're committing. So that has a bearing on it as well. And that is state mandated. So that shows part of it, but we are keeping track, and we track all the crimes that are reported. So we encourage people to report crimes because we're tracking what crimes that maybe we don't take someone to jail but are reoccurring, so that we can find a different way of tackling those problems as well.
And unfortunately, I don't have a calls for service map for last month with us. Usually we have that ready to share with everybody. But we do also have our crime map, and I'll put the link in the chat for covers our crimes, the calls for service. So it's not necessarily convicted crimes, it's just the sheer volume of calls that are coming in. And you can look at that on the front page of the Sheriff's Office website. That should be up and running again. I know it was down last week for maintenance from the third-party app, but it should be up. Otherwise, next time we meet here for CPO 6, I can bring both the previous month's map and the current map, and we can compare them too and look at them. And our data team does that on a regular basis. I have not heard any particulars of increases overall for the county in general. But 2020 was also a strange year, so we sometimes have to look at 3 to 5 year to look at the differences. So I'll try to get some more information next time we meet to see what the changes have been.
So if we don't arrest, the lawbreakers, do we end up prosecuting them later on, or does it just get dropped completely, or how does that work?
So it's not that we don't arrest them. We do arrest them, but if it's a lower level crime, we do what's called a cite and lieu. So we give them a arrest date where they have to show up to court, and if they don't show up, then a warrant is placed for them. It's just that they're not taken to jail, so they don't have that.
Sure.
You don't get that immediate response in terms of that they're not out there possibly committing other crimes at the same time. They're still being arrested. They're just not being taken to the jail at this time. And in terms of prosecution, that's still the arrest date, and they get a court date and time at the time. So they do get all of that information still. It's just what we can do in terms of taking people to jail and then potentially not having them commit another crime within a week or anything.
So that process is still in the works, it sounds like. So
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's ever evolving because of the state mandates that we have right now. So.
Well, good. Thank you for clarifying all that.
Yeah, no problem.
I just have a quick follow-up to that. I've been hearing a lot about increased car break-ins. Is that something that you've been getting a lot more calls about?
Am I still on?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things I've noticed is it's not break-ins a lot, to be honest with you. It's a lot of crimes of opportunity, where 4 people will get together and they'll go walk up and down the street, and they'll just try cars and try opening doors. And if they are able to, if the door's unlocked, they'll get in a car and they'll take their stuff. So it is a break-in still, but they're not literally I haven't seen an increase of breaking cars. I just see that crime a lot, is that crime of opportunity. So we try to make public service announcements like don't keep things in your cars that are valuable. Lock your car doors. I know overall we live in a really safe city, but still crime does happen a lot. So the more you can do to protect your things, the better.
Great.
Me too. It's garage door open season. So just remember too that as you're doing yard work in the backyard, to make sure that you're closing your garage doors. If it's for extended periods of time, most, like Debbie was saying there, that 30 seconds is what most crimes of opportunity take. So if the door is locked, they're usually going to walk past and try the next door. So I am available to do community trainings on the 9 p.m. routine and other safety topics. So feel free to reach out to me if your neighborhood is interested in that, and we can talk about ways to kind of help mitigate those crimes of opportunity. Like, during tax season, we often see a lot of mailbox thefts because the thieves know that checks are coming for that time of year, right, for people. So we've seen that a little bit more of that continuously with the stimulus checks. People know that they're coming out, so they're looking for those. So getting your packages quicker, our bait package has been incredibly successful. And if you follow us on Twitter or Facebook or any of the social media, you'll also see too that our bait trailer barely makes it out 3 to 5 days before it gets picked up. And people do keep getting caught for the trailer thefts as well. So if you have any questions, or if you're interested in the bait package program being in your neighborhood, reach out to me.
Great, thank you. All right, if there aren't any other questions, we are going to go ahead and move along to Tim with an update from THPRD.
Okay, thank you. Well, hello everyone, I'm Tim Bonnen. I'm in the Design Development Department for THPRD, and I'd like to go over some announcements for July. As you know, Governor Brown has lifted the COVID health and safety restrictions, and as of today, we are removing most restrictions. We're currently updating our website as well, but I thought I'd just share, give you a brief description of what we are doing at the district. So like most other places, where face coverings are no longer required in district buildings, either by staff or visitors, with the exception of our staff and patrons that are involved with our youth programs that will continue. We have removed the physical distancing requirements for our buildings. Building capacity limits are also removed, and more opportunities for people to participate in district activities will be made available through the registration portal. Drop-in use will be allowed again at the facilities that are open. Vaccine verifications are no longer required, but we will still have face coverings and hand sanitizer available at the building entries if people want them. And so as far as operations going forward, THPRD plans to reopen more facilities in the coming months. The current timeline is to restore limited operations at Garden Home Recreation Center in July, the Beaverton Swim Center in August, and then the LC Stir Center in September. Due to financial impacts, of course, of the COVID pandemic, we'll need a little bit more time to reopen Aloha, Harmon, and Sunset Swim Centers, and those we expect to be open in early 2022. But for this month, we do have a lot of events. We have a lot of small-scale events going on throughout the Park District that are free for families and kids to attend. Starting with Wednesday the 7th of July, we have Walk With Me at Barrows Trail. Please join us at Barrows Park at 9 a.m. We'll walk the trail on a guided tour along the trail and the surroundings for approximately 1 hour. The program is designed to create friendships with the community while improving cardiovascular fitness, and all fitness levels are welcome. And again, there's no registration required. Then on Thursday the 8th, we have Chalk the Block at Bethany Creek Park at 10 a.m. Staff, along with special guests, which are guests in costume like Spider-Man, those types of folks, we'll be handing out packs of chalk while engaging community members. Participants of all ages are encouraged to create sidewalk designs within the park, or take your art pack home and create a creative design within your own neighborhood. Again, there's no registration. This event is free. On Monday, the 12th, we have Superheroes Take Flight at Mountain View Champions Park. This is at 10 a.m. Join us for a day of making and launching paper rockets. Dress as your favorite superhero if you like, and meet and take a photo with our special guests. And there is no board meeting for the month of July. They'll resume in August. On Tuesday the 13th, we have Hide and Seek Scavenger Hunt at Fennel Creek Greenway. It starts at the Garden Home Rec Center entry at 3:30 p.m. Grab your camera and get ready. Create a visual record of your day walking on the trail by taking photos of things that you might not normally notice. A flower, a bird footprints, multicolored plants, something red, etc. Staff will be on site handing out scavenger hunt sheets and small notebooks as alternatives to sketch visual records. Those who complete the scavenger hunt receive a prize at the end of their hunt. And then on Wednesday, the 14th, we have Walk With Me. This time it's at Luami Heartwoods Trail. It starts at 9 a.m. And then on Monday, the 19th, we have Frozen in the Heat at Camille Park. This is at 10 a.m. Kids can dress like their favorite character from the day of Frozen themes, theme treats, music, and activities. And of course, don't forget to bring a camera to take a picture with them as well. Then on Tuesday, we have Tuesday the 20th, we have Chalk the Block at Terra Linda Park at 3:30 p.m. Staff, along with special guests, will be handing out chalk packs again with the community. Again, you can help design art around the park, as well as take chalk packs home and design, get creative around your own neighborhood. And then on Wednesday, the 21st, we have another Walk With Me event. That's at Fennel Creek Trail. That starts at 9 a.m. On Saturday, the 24th, we have another Chalk the Block. This time it's at Raleigh Swim and Park. That one is at 10 a.m. And on Monday, we have Monday the 26th, we have Rock the Block at Unity Park at 6 p.m. You can join Teach PRD and your neighbors as we celebrate one of our newest park sites. Enjoy a mobile DJ spinning tunes, prize drawings, activities, and exploring the new park. And then on Tuesday, the 27th, we have Frozen in the Heat at Camille Park. That is at 10 a.m. Again, there will be the Frozen characters there, along with treats, music, and other activities. And then finally, on Friday, the 30th, we have Superheroes Take Flight. This time it is at Schiffer Memorial Park at 3:30 p.m. So I hope you take the opportunity to join us for one of these events throughout July. And again, we will be having more events and activities available now that the restrictions are lifted. So please check on our website. So those are all the events I have to share with you today. Does anybody have any questions for me?
We had a question in the chat asking for a little bit more specific information on the delays in some of the facility openings.
More information about the delays on when we get them open. Well, part of it, there's several factors. Some of it is staffing, because we had to early on lay off the majority of our staff for all the facilities as we started to close them. So now it is just a matter of bringing staff back in, and there is even a shortage of people out there right now to pull from, because we've been filling, of course, a lot of openings right now for our summer programs. You know, we need more staff for camps, lifeguards, and those sorts of things. So that's been ongoing for us. And now we're looking at opening more facilities, so we need to, employ more staff. So it does take some time to bring on more employees to get those facilities opened.
Great. And then just to clarify, did you say LC Stir in September?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we had a question about January, but yeah, I think you said September for that. Great. Thank you so much, Tim.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Marcus, do you know if we have anything from fire? Oh, you're already on it.
The latest video from TVFNR was from May, and I believe you showed that at the June meeting. So we can show it again. I have it queued up, ready to go.
That's
If
okay.
if not, then we can move on.
Yes, I would love to move on and welcome Shannon and Andrew from Washington County Housing Development Division, who are here to talk to us about the Aloha Inn Permanent Supportive Housing Project. Thank you so much for being here, and you can go ahead and get started.
Well, thanks so much for the opportunity to be with you. I'm just going to share my screen. We do have a PowerPoint for you. Here we go. All right. So does everyone see that okay? Okay. Great. Well, again, thanks again for the opportunity to be with you. As Becky said, my name is Shannon Wilson. I'm a Housing Development Manager at the Housing Authority of Washington County. I'm joined by Andrew Crampton, Housing Development Coordinator. And so we're kind of split up the presentation. So I'm going to go first and kind of provide a little bit of context, and then Andrew will speak specifically about the project itself. So Andrew is really kind of taking the lead on this project. So I'll go ahead and get started. So this first slide was just to give you a sense of our presentation. So we do have a presentation for you, and then we would like to have time for question and discussion afterwards. So, and first, just to kind of provide some context for the issue of houselessness really within the region. We've been working in the Tri-County area, so within the counties of Clackamas, Washington, and Multnomah County, really to first identify the need for houseless services, and then also identify funding to support those, to support services that can help address that need. And so as you can see on this slide, as of 2019, in the Tri-County area, there were over 5,000 chronically homeless individuals that were identified. And the thing about that count is that it really undercounts the number of houseless individuals in our region, because it is it's called the point in time count, and because it is really just that. It's a period of a week or so in time, and there's volunteers that go out and they connect with different homeless shelters, and they connect with individuals living in camps or in their cars, and then they total all those numbers up. And so it doesn't really count those individuals who might be couch surfing, who might be kind of living with a friend for 1 week and then going back home and then living with another individual. So it really undercounts the number of houseless individuals in our region. And so when faced with this issue, we are lucky to have a couple recent resources that have become available, and really become available thanks to voters in the Tri-County area. And so the first one of those is the Metro Affordable Housing Bond. So it was approved by voters in November of 2018. And that brings $652.8 million in the region, that Tri-County area, to build 3,900 affordable housing units, so apartments that are affordable to low-income individuals and families. And so that's the first part of the solution. We look at homelessness, it's places, right? So people have a place to live. And so this map is shows you the locations of housing that has been, they've all received an award of Metro Bond funding. So there's only 2 that are under construction, that if you went to go visit those, you would go to the site and actually see something. But all of these have, they've received an award of funding. And so right now they're doing what we call pre-development. So they're getting all their other funding sources together. They're getting permits in hand. They're working with their architect team to get their plans together. And over the next couple of years, those projects will begin construction and then be available for a lease up and be available to provide homes for individuals in our community. And then when looking at the issue of homelessness, the other important component to having a place is also having services. because oftentimes people who are homeless, it's not just an issue of income or lack thereof. It's also, they also have a need for services. Maybe they've experienced significant trauma in their life, or might be struggling with substance abuse or behavioral health issues. And so in addition to having a safe place to live, they also need services so they can remain stable in that housing. And so another important funding source that voters approved was in May of 2020, and that was the Metro Supportive Housing Services Measure. So that supports the services that you see here on the slide throughout the Tri-County region. And so we've really been able to increase staffing in our department. We have a whole new division, Supportive Housing Services Division. Program manager there for that initiative is Jess Larson. And so she's been leading that effort, and it really focuses on providing those clinical services as well as really just supportive services to help people remain in their housing. And so we often use the term permanent supportive housing when we look at, what can be the most effective way to serve houseless individuals in our community. And so permanent supportive housing is also often referred to as the acronym of PSH. And it really is combining those two components of places and services. So combining affordable housing with voluntary support services. So it really helps residents build an independent living and life skills. It connects those residents with community-based health care and any clinical treatment that they may need, as well as employment services. And the community benefit to PSH, permanent supportive housing, is that it's really a cost-efficient way to help houseless individuals in our communities. So to have someone in a permanent supportive housing unit actually costs the community less than if that person were on the street or maybe in and out of the justice system or in and out of the hospital or shelters. So it's more cost efficient for the community, and then it also is more productive for that individual and provides them with an opportunity to meet their needs and really potentially improve their situation and move forward. And so that's what we're really trying to do with both our Metro Bond projects, as well as our work with the Supportive Housing Services Measure as we roll that out. And so the Aloha Inn is one of those first PSH projects. It's the first kind of all permanent supportive housing project within Washington County. So it's the first site where all of those units will serve individuals needing permanent supportive housing. And as I'm sure all of you know, living in the Aloha area, it's an existing motel. And that the Housing Authority purchased earlier this year. And so with that, I will hand it over to Andrew to go into more of the detail about that project.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andrew Crampton. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. If I have any issues with my connection, please let me know and I'll jump on a different computer. So please jump in. First, I just want to talk about the context for this project and the site selection process. The first component to understand is the conversion of hotels into housing and permanent supportive housing is really becoming a best practice up and down the West Coast. Several years ago, we first saw this type of model being implemented in California through what they called the Project Turnkey program. And we're able to provide within a year's time 5,000 housing units for permanent supportive housing. It's really a great model to take advantage of an existing building and utilize the infrastructure to provide housing. It's also been implemented now throughout the state of Oregon with many different projects throughout up and down the state of providing housing. And it's something that Washington County Housing Services was looking at very closely and began really to start looking at potential sites for this model. In order to look at potential sites, there are some key criteria that were implemented in order to have a successful location and project. The first one is really access to public transit. Will the guests and residents have the ability to access the community through transit? And the next was really a site that was near both healthcare and social services. So that way folks could get the medical and the social services care that they would need and have it be located in the community where they live. The next was personal daily needs. Is there access to grocery stores, goods, shopping, other components so people can live their daily lives and have convenience to opportunities? The same way anybody would really consider when purchasing or renting a home of availability within the community. The next was the scale of homes to address homelessness. As Shannon mentioned in the very first slide, there's a chronic issue in the region with a substantial amount of homelessness. Looking at a project that can, one, provide the adequate scale, but two, isn't too substantial that there wouldn't be the ability to provide the necessary wraparound services for the folks. So it's really looking at a middle point. Are there enough rooms to meet the need, but also is the size enough that the services, the permanent supportive component of services that can be provided, so that way the folks living in the building can thrive. The final component is budget alignment, looking at resources and making sure that the overall project can align with the overall budget. It's something our development team looked at very closely. We worked with an owner's representative that has a lot of experience on renovation of buildings into housing, and looked at a line by line item owner's program to consider overall cost and make sure that the overall cost of the project can match the available funds for the project. Next slide, please. And so that criteria, after a countywide search of various potential hotels working with a broker, really all the criteria, the Aloha Quality Inn met those. There's great public transit, the line 57 for east-west TV highway connection, as well as the line 88, I believe, for north-south connection to the Beaverton Transit Center and other transit center connections. There's groceries and pharmacies in the area. There's a Walgreens right next door for convenience items and also medical prescription refills. And a little bit further east on TV Highway, or west on TV Highway, is a Safeway for additional full service grocery. And even further west is a Fred Meyer. There's adequate medical and dental care in the area, and that will increase with the development of South Hillsborough's Reed's Crossing Medical Center. So that way folks can have access to the medical component. There's lots of great food in the area, both local and chains as well, to provide affordable and local food for the guests and the residents. And there's also the potential for employment opportunities with all the various stores and goods and services in the area. So that was really the criteria of objective standards that were looked at in order to have the Aloha Quality Inn be the selected project site. Next slide, please. So this slide will show the expected improvements that will be implemented starting likely this fall. With the renovation. The hotel will be renovated into studio apartments, adding kitchenettes, which will consist of a refrigerator, microwave, washing, and some limited cooking facilities, with additional cooking facilities located in the common area space where there can be additional staff monitoring. Another important consideration is making the building safe with fire life safety. Because of the renovation and the change of occupancy from a motel to a more permanent residency, fire sprinklers will be required and frankly will need to be put in place for the safety of the residents. So that way, if there is any fire, the fire sprinklers can quickly suppress any issue. Also looking at voluntary ADA sidewalk ramp improvements at the intersection corners. So that way guests that do have mobility issues will be able to safely cross Alexander at 198th and also from the north coming on 198th as well. Also looking at trauma-informed design in the common area space. Thinking of a color palette that's really calm and soothing. So that way the folks living in the area can really feel like it's home. And if there's any trauma they might have experienced in their life, they can feel calm and soothed while living in the building. So those are the primary improvements. The building is in generally really great shape with solid bones. There's really wide corridors and hallways, and it's been a relatively well-maintained hotel. motel. So most of the renovation work will really be the conversion to studio apartments. Next slide, please. This shows the proposed program model, which is really a holistic approach, as described earlier, about what permanent supportive housing is. It's providing the housing and associated wraparound services. It's providing laundry and cleaning support. The building has been partially renovated with a laundry facility, so that way guests and future residents will have access to laundry facility and services. Also looking at meal provisions, partnering with community restaurants to have some meals being provided and coordinated, both provided meals, but also in the common area space, working with residents. So if they do need to cook, that more substantial cooking with an oven can be monitored. Looking at mental health support and services, so folks that are experiencing struggles can get the support that they need. Counseling and peer mentorship, really considering the space not only individual apartments, but also an overall community. Looking at programming on the first floor, so that way folks can get to know each other and establish mentorship and establish relationships with each other so they can learn and grow together. Also looking at culturally specific services and assistance. So that way folks, especially folks that are marginalized, people of color, and other marginalized communities are really getting the care and the assistance that they need. Next slide, please. In order to implement this program model, it really takes a village and strategic partnerships. The funding source is really two primary sources. The first is Metro's supportive housing, Metro's affordable housing bond that help fund the acquisition and the renovation. And then also the Washington County Housing Production Opportunity Fund, which was a local fund that is approved by the Washington County Board of Commissioners to help support affordable housing development. And then the associated services will also be funded by Metro through the Supportive Housing Services Bond. In addition to the funding, it's really developing strategic partnerships. Culturally specific services will be provided by the Urban League of Portland, which is looking to expand into Washington County and provide services. And then also Bienestar, which many folks are very familiar with the great work that Bienestar has done in the community for socially, culturally specific services, especially for the Latinx community. Also partnering with Good Neighbor Center, which is a local operator and community partner that is based in Washington County and Tigard, that will be providing short-term shelter support. Next slide, please. And this gives a little bit more detail about the short-term shelter operations. In order to quickly address the need of homelessness while working on the overall renovation project, the 22 rooms will act as a temporary shelter while the building is being converted. The way the building is oriented, it really lends well to a phased project because it's essentially divided into two wings. The northern wing is where the temporary shelter has commenced operation. And the southern wing will be the first portion of the building that will be renovated to permanent supportive housing. And then once the southern wing is completed, it'll essentially flip and folks will be housed in the southern wing while the northern wing begins operations. The Good Neighbor Center, as I stated, is a local shelter operator that operates a shelter in Tigard, Oregon, and has experience working with folks that are experiencing homelessness and providing a short-term home. The intent of the shelter is to provide a short-term stay while folks are integrated into the overall network, and we partner with our service providers to provide permanent housing in the community. Next slide, please. The Urban League of Portland is really expanding into Washington County in order to expand its mission to provide services and empowerment for African Americans in the community. And Bienestar will also be on site to provide culturally specific services, especially for Latinx community members and immigrants, and really all families in need. It's a longstanding bedrock organization in Washington County. Next slide, please. So this is the overall PSH project timeline with several phases. The 22-room shelter in the northern wing is currently operating. And the development team is working with the project architect to begin design and submit for building permits later this summer, with anticipated construction on the southern wing starting in October and completion early next year. And then flipping and starting in the northern wing then, with full building completion targeted for late spring of next year, for a total of 54 permanent supportive housing units. Next slide, please. The intent of both this discussion and future discussion is to really have a conversation and collaboration with the community. We understand anytime that there's additional housing of any type, the community needs to be considered as part of that conversation. And so part of that is engagement with targeted outreach. There's been community meetings held in March, and then last week in June, and then this additional CPO meeting, and also a meeting with the Aloha Business Association to try to have as much conversations and information sharing as possible. To advertise for the June meeting, flyering was done to residents in the adjacent area, as well as mailers for property owners and businesses, and then also advertising on social media next door. And I'd welcome to hear any feedback if there's anything else as far as the ability to provide information. We're here to really learn and grow as we develop our outreach strategy. So any suggestions that folks have of being able to reach the community, I'd love to hear those during the question and answer component. Other components is really considering safety. A camera system will be implemented, so that way if there's any incidents that happen, it can be documented and addressed and taken care of. Also key card control. The 22-room shelter right now, all guests are escorted when they enter the building into their rooms, and shelter staff have key cards, so that way guests are being monitored and access is controlled in and out of the building. We also have 24/7 staff on site in order to have the opportunity, if there's any issues or conversations that need to happen, there'll be staff members available with security training. While we transition during this first month, there'll also be hired security as well that are professional experts, and additionally staff that are operating the shelter will have security training as well. So if there's any incidents that doesn't yet rise to the level of needing emergency response or law enforcement response, the staff can take care of that issue. And if there is the need for additional outside emergency response, staff have been trained on de-escalation techniques in order to resolve the issues. But if the incident is serious, that's when emergency and police response could be needed. Also looking at community benefits, cooperating with the community, providing partnerships for local businesses where food can be purchased and provided for the residents. So that way there's shared benefit between both the guests to be able to participate in the community businesses, but the businesses can have a source of income as well and work together. Also additional community input. The project name, Aloha Inn, permanent supportive housing, is a placeholder name for now. The intent is to really have a conversation with the community and learn on what could be a name to celebrate the building and celebrate the history of Aloha. So that is the intent, to have that process for a permanent name for the development. And also looking at art, both trauma-informed art within the corridors itself, but also an art to celebrate the project in the building outside. That could consist of a mural and painting and other components to really be able to celebrate this project as part of the community. And part of the intent of future community engagement will be to get feedback both on the name, but also the name can help inform the scope and the intent of building art. Next slide, please. So we really welcome the opportunity for folks to stay engaged in this project and have feedback both after this presentation. We would like to take questions and have a conversation, but if folks have additional questions they didn't think of or as the need arises, or if there are people that folks are unable to attend this meeting but are interested in the project, we have an email that on shelters@co.washington, and then also a phone line as well, and then providing information on the Washington County YouTube channel, and then additional conversations, additional potentially quarterly check-in meetings or other ways. We really want to hear feedback on the best ways to gain feedback and improve on both our outreach, but feedback on the program itself. So that's the end of the presentation. So we have time for questions and discussion. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Shannon and Andrew. That was a lot of really great information. Just a reminder for those who are calling in right now, you can raise your hand by pushing *9. So if you have a question and you want to raise your hand, use *9 if you're on the phone. And you can either type your question into the chat or go ahead and raise your hand and you can ask yourself. Anyone? All right. Well, I do remember earlier we had a question about safety for the community. Let's see, are they going to have increased security around the area to protect the citizens who live in the area? So will the security be mostly just there at the facility, or are there things being done on a broader scale in the community?
The security that's on site by staff is to really focus on the building itself. I think the broader areas is a conversation, a collaboration with Washington County Sheriff's Department. And so we've had some initial conversations with that office, but would welcome any additional feedback. I think really the intent is to work together, both within the shelter itself, to have staff that are trained on de-escalation and security elements, but then also collaborating with the sheriff's office on the broader community and any impact that could occur.
Great, thank you. We have another question. What is meant by short term for the short term part of the facility?
The intent for the ultimate renovation is permanent supportive housing, which is really somebody's home that they are a resident with associated services. In the interim, the northern wing will be used as a shelter. So it is folks that are guests at the facility and are there to have a short-term home over their head while they receive needed wraparound services, with the intent to be able to work with them to find permanent supportive housing, whether that's once the southern wing opens, could potentially be an opportunity, or other housing within Washington County that it could be a regulated, affordable, or permanent supportive housing.
Thank you. Let's see, what is the drug policy at the site?
That one, I see there's another comment too about alcohol use, and so I do want to highlight, so Andrew and I are on the development side, and so in terms of getting the building ready for use as permanent supportive housing and shelter, and so definitely our partners in the supportive housing services division are the expert on that. But my understanding is that all residents that can be subject to do testing for drug use, but it is not necessarily like a clean living facility. But depending on if they are causing an issue within the community, then they can be subject to testing, is my understanding. And Andrew, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I would just add that the intent of this program is to reduce the impact of homelessness, and people face homelessness for a variety of reasons that often can compound. And really the intent is to have folks not living on the streets or under a bridge, but have the opportunity to have a home over their head. So it is a low barrier entry program in order to do that. There are some models that have higher barrier standards, and those have their place as part of a piece of the puzzle. But really the intent with the permanent supportive housing model and this model is really to provide homes for people that are struggling the most and are chronically homeless and have had a really hard life. And there's a lot of reasons why people become homeless, whether it's eviction or drug addiction or a variety of things, but also those issues compound once they are homeless and those things can manifest. So I think it's always important to just be mindful of what is the intent. And the intent is to have folks not living on the street anymore, but to have a home.
Great. So there's another part of that question. Will this facility be used for Washington County housing challenged folks or for the entire Tri-County area?
Good question.
So it is intended to serve, being based in Washington County, it is intended to serve houseless individuals, but it is not, people don't have to just be from Washington County. I mean, houseless individuals, they could come, they don't have a home or a residence necessarily. And so these kind of projects are occurring throughout the Tri-County region. And so our understanding is that it will help meet the needs of homeless individuals within Washington County, but it will not be restricted to individuals that might have a previous address or kind of connection to the county.
Great. Kind of scrolling through here. So there are a couple of questions asking about how people will be screened, because of safety concerns in the neighborhood. Let's see, are there studies that have been done about how it will affect current neighborhood residents? Historic percentage crime increase around these types of projects. So again, it looks like people are kind of concerned about the safety and wondering what the screening process is.
Yeah, so we will work with in addition to the providers and service providers that Andrea mentioned, we will also work with the property management company. Right now we work with Cascade Property Management, and so they have a screening process and criteria that they use for the other affordable housing that we have within the county. That being said, Andrew did mention also this is intended to be low barrier housing, and so we'll have a relaxed screening criteria with also that 24/7 staffing and presence that will be there to support those residents and as they need it. So I think it's something that we are learning too as we go forward. There's also Bud Clark Commons in Portland, which is an all PSH project, and so we've been learning from them and the different services and safety procedures that they have in place, and definitely want this to be really an asset to the community. So not only serve the houseless individuals, but really be an asset within Aloha. I lived in Aloha for about 4 years, and you definitely see houseless individuals really throughout the county, not just in Aloha, but and so this is a way for those people to come inside and and hopefully that contributes to overall community safety.
Thank you. If it's permanent housing, will residents be paying rent at any point?
So they will be paying rent to the extent that they do have that they do have income. So we anticipate that some of the residents may be working. They may not be working when they come in, but they may be working overtime. And so as they have income, they'll pay a portion of that towards their, if they're on Social Security disability or Social Security, they would pay a portion of that towards their rent.
Great. And then is it just for single people or is it couples, children, pets?
It's primarily single adults. It is adults only. There'll likely be a few couples as well, but most of the folks living in the building will be single adults. And often service animals are quite common as any apartment or any building. So service animals are allowed, of course.
All right, please pardon my speaking of pets, dogs barking in the background. They're excited about something outside, I think. Let's see, we'll try to get through just a couple more here since a lot of these are security related. Let's see. Can you give an example of a similar successful project like this in our state or on the West Coast?
As Shannon mentioned, Bug Clark Commons is a great example. Earlier in the presentation, I talked about the best practices of conversion to hotels with Project Turnkey and Project Room Key in Oregon. Hotels are being purchased in Bend, East Portland, Salem, I believe, Coos County, Lincoln City. So it really is becoming a best practices model that we'll be able to really learn from each other, which will be great on best practices and lessons learned and some candid conversations on what went well and also what we really can do better. So it'll be a great learning opportunity, but it's certainly an all PSH model, both on the West Coast, but also throughout the world. The places that have been able to functionally end homelessness, areas like Finland and Norway, they were able to do it through permanent supportive housing is the documented, well-researched best practices of giving folks a permanent home and doing so with associated wraparound services.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and go with one more question here. Will the rent income reduce the budgeted costs or will it go to the general fund?
So I'm not quite sure about the general fund reference, but the rental income, it goes to support the operations of the project. So it'll go to pay like the electricity, for instance, for the office and the hallways, and go to pay for the insurance costs or landscaping. It'll go to pay the operating costs of the building itself.
And I would also add that operations costs through Metro Supportive Housing Services Bond will be the key funding source. The only Washington County local funds were the Housing Production Opportunity Fund as far as local funds for the project. Most of the project funds are through the regional Metro Housing Bond and Metro Supportive Services Bond.
Great. And then he followed up with, will that reduce the budget? I'm assuming, Steve, do you mean like the budget for the money that's going toward running the facility? Yes, okay. So will the money they pay in rent go directly back toward running that specific program?
Yes, that will, yes. And so
Okay.
it'll be factored into the, yes, how much in operating support the project needs from those other sources Andrea mentioned. So yes, it will.
Great. And then I just want to touch really quick with either Cody or and somebody from the sheriff's office. A lot of people are concerned about maybe increased drug activity or criminal activity or having people who have been convicted of sex crimes coming into the area. So I was just wondering if you could talk about that for a second and kind of let us know what your plan is regarding those concerns.
Hi, if you can hear me. So basically it's, this is kind of unprecedented in Washington County. So we're gonna, we're here for our county. So we want to encourage people that live around the area to call us to report crimes so that we can start getting those numbers and seeing what happens if it's increasing, if it's not. And I'm sorry, I forgot the gentleman's name, but who did the presentation. He talked about collaborating with Washington County. I think that's going to be extremely important in order to make this project work. But with that, we're here for all of the county, right? We're here for the residents of the county. So please if there are crimes, report them. Let us know, call us when you need us, because it will give us more information in order for us to best tackle whatever it is. Maybe there is no increase, maybe there will be an increase, but we're taking a human-centered lens to policing and seeing like how we can best support the county itself. And we want to be able to be there for everyone involved, and hopefully, like I said, a collaboration between us, between the project itself, and of course the community. We're definitely going to be interested to see what comes out of this.
And then just to add to that too, we do have staff members that are meeting with all the offices in the county that are working on these projects. So our commissioners are involved with that too. So there are weekly, sometimes monthly meetings that people from the Washington County Sheriff's Office, our other partners from the cities, are meeting with housing services. They're meeting with outreach. We're working with the development. We've had a Hope deputy in the past, which was a homeless outreach that would hopefully be the partner that eventually will coordinate with this community, and having their front desk staff there that's 24 hours, building that relationship with our deputies as well. So if there is communication, that there can be those types of things. So as that collaboration grows, we can share more information as that develops as well. But I do know already that we have staff that are involved in cross-county office communications on this.
Great, thank you so much for that information. Shannon and Andrew, thank you so much for being here and sharing this project with us. That was very, very good information. And Sally, one of our community members, said, excellent presentation. Thank you for all of your hard work to provide these much needed services in our community. So thank you for everything that you're doing. And I just want to remind everybody that if you have more questions, I have posted again the email here where you can reach out and ask those questions. It's shelters@co.washington.or.us. So you can go ahead and email if you need any follow-up questions answered. So with that, we are going to go ahead and move on to some just very brief CPO 6 updates. We don't have a whole lot, and I'm gonna kind of try to speed through because we're just over 8 o'clock here. Let me see really quick, share this really fast. All right. There we go. So just very quickly, on July 14th at 6 p.m., the city of Hillsborough is going to have a public hearing about the Reed's Crossing planned unit development, which is right there, off of Cornelius Pass Road. They're going to be asking to put in 4 lots here. It's going to be mixed use. So that means like some commercial and some residential. So if you're interested in that project, hearing about it, or if you just have any questions or concerns, you can attend the meeting. And if you go to their website, you should be able to find the link to that meeting. But if not, I've put this email here really quick. You can reach out and ask some questions there if you need to. Let's see, the next thing here is public hearing on July 15th at 10 a.m. And this is regarding an 11 lot proposed residential area right here. They want to put in 11 units. Oops, hang on, there we go. It's right here off of Baseline and 206th. So if you have any questions about that, you can attend that meeting. And these are the 3 people that you can email if you need more information or you're looking for the link to the meeting. And then I really wanted to say, like, very quickly, we are hoping next month to talk a little bit about House Bill 2001, which is the new middle housing law that will be going into effect next year, and how that will be affecting our community specifically, because a lot of CPO 6 is in the area where that will be implemented. So if you have questions about that, come back next month. We're going to try to get somebody here to talk about that. before we go, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who was here, all of our panelists and all of our community members who attended. Does anybody have any general questions? We're always open to suggestions for what you would like to hear at our meetings, anything you would like to learn more about or things that you are concerned about. So you can always make your suggestions here, or you can send us an email. And I'm going to go ahead and put our email here really quickly. All right. So if you have any suggestions on topics that you would like to hear about in our monthly meetings, you can email us at cpo6leaders@gmail.com. This meeting was recorded and we're going to be posting it on our CPO6 Facebook page. We'll see if we can try to get it uploaded onto YouTube too. I'm not quite sure, honestly, how that works with Zoom recordings, but we'll look into it. But for sure, we'll try to have it on our CPO6 Facebook page. So there aren't any additional questions. Hope everybody has a nice weekend, a safe weekend, safe 4th of July, and a fun 4th of July. And we will see everyone next month.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.